This Mules football video update is brought to you by Country Kitchen on the corner of 13 and 50 Highway in Warrensburg.
Well, it's that time of year again, and we're excited to embark on this 2015 season. We have a lot of players coming back on our team that have some game experience, which of course is very important in the rugged conference that we play in. And they had a terrific off season. Excited about what we saw in spring ball, but we have a lot of work to do. There's no secret about the ruggedness of our opening schedule, and so the upside to that is, you have to be ready to play right out of the gate. And from what I've seen out of the preparation of our players, they will be ready to play. But we have a lot of question marks on this football team right now that we're going to have to resolve here in the next 21 days. Which is always an exciting part of coaching, to see who's going to be that next guy to step up. But some of our key spots, particularly with our offensive line, we have a lot of starting experience there, and my feeling is that if that is probably the place that you need experience the most. We have some talented kids at our skill spot in offense, and we'll have to bring them along kind of rapidly, because we lost some production in terms of losing Hayden Hawk, one of the better passers in the league for the last couple of years, and certainly Levance Taylor with all the rushing records that he broke. Defensively, we sustained some kind of key injuries last year that probably held us back from being a better defensive unit, and so our players are excited about the challenge of picking up the pace on that side of the ball, and we have some good leadership and some nice returning players, particularly in the secondary there, and kicking game is going to be an aspect that we'll have to have some of our young guys step up as well, but again, we've the exciting part about where we are in our program now at Central Missouri is we're 95% plus four-year players, and it's always exciting as a football coach to see those kids develop, and that's really the cornerstone of our program, is to develop the high school four-year players, and it's always exciting to see who's going to be that next guy to step up and grab his opportunity and be a great player in our program.
With your new OC, Coach McMenamin, how's that been, him taking over that spot? What's it been like working with him?
It's been great. I mean, he's a great guy. He definitely fits in with the coaching staff there. I mean, we have a really upbeat staff, and he's also an upbeat kind of guy, and he did a great job of not doing too much with the offense that we have, because we always had a really good offense, and he just tweaked some things here and there, so then the transition wouldn't be so hard for some of us. But it's been great having him there. It's a new, fresh set of eyes, a different perspective on the game. So it's been great having Coach Mack there.
Yeah, like Brian said, it's been great. I mean, he's brought a fresh perspective to our offense, and he's worked with Boda before, in the past, so it's been good. He's a smart guy, knows what he's doing, and I'm definitely excited for this year with him. So,
Brian, like Coach mentioned, lots of offensive linemen back, so y'all know each other, the chemistry's there. So what do you do now?
Now it's just about taking our game to the next level, not just expecting just to do well. We want to be great. We want to dominate every single play and be physically demanding and really take our game to that next level.
And we obviously have a race for quarterback going now. And in that spring game, we saw each of them, and they all seemed like they had very different styles of how they wanted to play quarterback. Are you trying to get adjusted to how they all work differently?
Well, I think overall in the offensive scheme, it's really not too hard to adjust to either one. I mean, we have Fugate and Bowles who are more runners, but Stevenshoe has also shown that he can also tuck down and run the ball for a little bit. So it's not as much worried about them as also I just want to worry about keeping them safe and protecting them as best I can.
And what about for you working with whoever's going to fill that role?
Yeah, obviously Garrett brings a different dimension to the game with the fact that he can run, but there's not much of an adjustment with either one of them. They can both throw the ball really well, and both can run when they need to. So,
from the player's perspective, with all these returners coming back, I have 51 letter winners and 15 starters. How encouraging is that, just to be able to come out in that first game and already have so much stuff down?
It's very encouraging. Like you said, we've got a lot of depth and a lot of people returning. So with that experience, and like Coach said, with this tough league that we play in, it's very nice to have that to fall back onto.
Coach, obviously, talk a little bit about the defense. Obviously not a defensive player here. It seems like the offenses get better from year to year in the MIAA, and as new coaches come in, more offenses and new offenses that get better. Just talk about adapting from year to year as a coach, because you may have the exact same defense, but every offense in the league may be a little bit better.
Well, it's a challenge, and the thing about the MIAA is you got to be able to defend both well, because most of the offenses in the league are pretty well balanced, and so there's not really a theme where you could get used to in terms of on the defensive side of the ball. And so the idea really is to be able to stop the run. Everything starts there, and you certainly have to do that in this league. But there's really some fine offensive coaches and some tremendous talent in the league. Usually there's 4 or 5 really good quarterbacks that bring a skill set that is as good as anybody's in the country typically. So, in terms of our development there, we feel like, we got to improve in terms of the amount of big plays that we gave up last year and do a little bit better job against the run. But we were really opportunistic. Having said that, we were one of the top teams in the country in terms of interceptions. We had like 24 or 5 interceptions last year, and that was tops in the league, and we got a lot of those kids back in the secondary. So I think that's an important aspect of playing defense, and certainly the turnover margin is a critical statistic for your team. And so the ability to, you don't play championship football unless you got a good defense. That's the bottom line.
Brian, obviously some fantastic defensive linemen in the league. They seem to get faster every year. Just talk about, lining up against that kind of speed every week, and just, what you look for, in video and tendencies that help you to be a good blocker and protect your quarterback.
Yeah, I definitely watch a lot of film. I definitely look at their stances. I really can tell about what the defensive line is going to do. It's always about looking at the bigger picture of things, because when you look at that, you can see catch up tendencies, and it's always true that the defenses here in this conference are really well taught in their technique. And every week, it's important for me to always focus on my technique, because with good technique in the offensive line, there really is whoever you're line up against, you can always have success with your technique.
Coach, what is the quarterback situation for you guys right now? Is there anyone that carries over an advantage from the spring? And, is it a matter of naming a starter by week 1, or is that job going to?
Yeah, we're going to let it play out a little bit. We have a good competition going there, and we got, as Ian mentioned, we got a couple of those kids that are similar in terms of their skill set and being able to run the football, and one that's probably the best passer out of all 3 of them right now. And so it's kind of a good problem to have, and we have a nice competition going there between Garrett Fugate and Eric Siebenschuh and Brooke Bowles. And all of them did some good things in the spring, and all of them have some things they got to work on. And so, as I mentioned, the competition usually brings out the best, and so we're really fortunate that we can do that. We probably really haven't had that as much for a while in terms of the depth. And so it'll be exciting, and I think the players are confident in all those kids because of what they bring to the table and the kind of leadership qualities they also have.
Can you kind of talk a little bit more about the strengths of each and what each one brings to the table?
Well, the older 2 kids, Garrett Fugate and Eric Siebenschuh, they bring some experience, and they've been in the program. They know what to expect. They know the terminology. It's kind of second nature to them, and so that's an advantage in terms of what they bring to the table. They're different because Fugate's more of an athletic kid. He was a star basketball player and track athlete in high school, so he's an outstanding all-around athlete. But I'm not sure that Eric's not one of the better pure passers really around, and so he's more of a kind of a pocket guy. But in the spring game, he ran the ball pretty well too. So it's not that he can't do that. It's just not what is what he does best. And then Brooke is he's got that youthful exuberance, and he's kind of at that that development point where he probably doesn't quite know what he doesn't know yet, and so we got to work him through that and get him, some experience in terms of some live reps and the live bullets coming at him. But he's really talented. He's got a lively arm, And again, one of those kids that was a multi-sport athlete in high school and is really exciting anytime he's got the ball in his hands.
Coach, considering that your team and Missouri Western over the last several years have been in the upper tier of the standings, do you get a sense that that first game is almost like a playoff atmosphere type of game?
Well, it's certainly a big game, but you know, that's there's good and bad with that. I mean, obviously, you know, with how our league is, I really don't. It's really the same for everybody. You know, nobody's got a light game to start off with, and so that's the downside of everybody playing everybody in our league, in my opinion. And so, you know, the fact that we're playing Missouri Western and they've had the upper hand on us the last 3 years is a concern, you know, as a coach, because you can kind of fall into some patterns, and particularly the way we've lost a couple of those games. And so, you know, what you want to do is you want to, you know, in your preparation, make sure that you're taking care of the things that you feel like have cost you games in the past, and you know, really be focused on that and not kind of any of the ghosts of the past type things, and just really focus on your preparation. But you know, all in all, at some point you're going to have to play, and you don't know how a season's going to pan out. I mean, you really don't know who's going to be good after 2 or 3 or 4 games, you know, or who's going to be at the top. And so you just literally each game you go on expecting that you're going to be playing a playoff caliber team. Certainly, probably with few exceptions, teams in our league have somebody, you know, at some point has been in the playoffs, and so. Many of them have the same coaches and outstanding programs, and so it's a great team to play, to open up with from the standpoint of you get your players' attention, but at the same time you tend not to try to put all your eggs in one basket as far as game one. I think that happened to us a little bit last year, to be honest with you. I think it was we felt like we had some outstanding players back. They were kind of battle tough. They felt like in their heart they were going to be a good team. And when you lose a heartbreaker to start with, it really tests your mettle as a program, as a group of seniors in particular, and as a coach. And they bounced back, and then, you know, we played, you know, arguably the best Division II program in the last 20 years in Game 3, and took our lumps there, and then we reeled off, you know, 6 wins in a row. And I think that says a lot about who's in the program, and the fact that they didn't give up the ship at that point, because we have high aspirations like everybody else. We want to make the playoffs, and when you lose a couple games in the league, that's not very likely anymore. And so what are you playing for? And so they came out and got themselves ready to go and got themselves in position to win those games, and I'm proud of that.
Coach, both players seem to like what the new OC has brought to the table so far. Obviously, you've worked with him before, but how do you think Coach McMenamin has adapted to coming to UCM?
Well, we have a lot of history together. Again, he's a kid that I helped recruit and played in our system, was an outstanding player. What I really like about John is he's a football guy. He's a junkie. I mean, it's kind of his hobby. And if he's not doing anything, you know, you can usually catch him watching film of some sort. And so he loves offensive football. He loves the game. He made himself into a great player, so he has that sort of work ethic. And he's been doing it on his own for the last 6 or 7 years. So he kind of knows what I know, because we're doing some of the same things that we've done over the years, certainly the terminology. But he's also had the reins and run his own show, and has had the responsibility and been accountable to do that. And that's a whole different deal when you're the guy calling the shots. And so I really like what he brings to the table. He's been the kids have responded to him well. He's got a nice way to teach and keep things concise and simple, but at the same time do what we want to do philosophically within our offense.